Here's something almost nobody in this industry will tell you. Two roofs can look exactly the same from the street. Same color, same style, same shingles. Yet one of them will only last 7 years, while the other one lasts 30 to 40 years. The difference has a lot less to do with the shingles and almost everything to do with what's underneath and around them. In our last video, I told you that contractors often leave their bids vague on purpose, so that they can use whatever materials they want. So now I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like in real life. Because your roof isn't just shingles, it's a complete system. 9 different parts, each one doing a specific job, each one having different levels of quality. And every single one of them is a place where a contractor can quietly cut a corner you'll never see coming. So let's walk through it, one piece at a time. We'll start with the roof deck. This is the foundation of your roof system. It's the wooden surface that everything else gets built on top of. And before anything new goes on, it needs to be completely uncovered and inspected. Here's something we see all the time, and it's one of the biggest shortcuts in the business. A lot of contractors don't bother removing your old felt paper or underlayment. They just put the new stuff right on top of it. And they'll actually try to sell you on this by saying something like, "We're giving you an extra layer of protection." And I mean, it sounds good, but it's not. What they're really doing is skipping the most important step of the whole job, looking at every inch of your wood decking, because that's where you're gonna find the soft spots, the rot, and the water damage. The problems that will quietly destroy everything above them if nobody fixes them first. They skip it because it takes longer. It makes more mess and it slows the crew down. But here's the truth. If the wood underneath isn't solid, nothing else we're about to talk about will matter. I've literally been on older roofs where there were 7 or 8 layers of felt paper underneath the shingles. And you know what we found when we removed all that underlayment? Decades of contractor neglect. Numerous leaks that had caused thousands of dollars worth of damage to the decking. Here's the second part, and I would argue the most important one, ventilation. I'm actually gonna spend a little more time on this one because it's the #1 problem in our entire industry. 9 out of 10 homes in America don't have proper ventilation. You heard that right. 90% of homes are improperly ventilated. And it's because most roofing contractors don't actually understand how it's supposed to work. They've never taken the time to study it. And these are the people being paid to protect your home. The fact is, most contractors just assume that whatever is on your roof is what should be on your roof. And so they just go back with the same. Now on the flip side, and what's honestly worse, are the contractors that have a one-size-fits-all mentality towards ventilation, or perhaps a favorite ventilation types that they always use. You see, these guys actually magnify the problem. They may know just enough to realize you don't have enough ventilation. So they think, I'll add more exhaust vents. But here's where their lack of understanding actually hurts you. More often than not, their attempts to help actually hurt your roof system because they install a different type of exhaust vent right next to your existing ones. You see, there are actually 3 overarching types of vents for your roof. There's passive vents like turtle vents, ridge vents, dome vents. Then there's hybrid vents like whirlybirds, turbines, and roof eye vents. And then there's active vents like electrical and solar powered attic fans. And each of these types of vents can work great in a specific situation. But mixing them on the same roof disrupts the entire system. I've done a whole other video explaining the nuances of ventilation, so I won't go too far into the weeds in this video, but there is a lot that goes into designing a proper ventilation system for a roof. And it's never a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires proper airflow, balance, and an understanding of how certain products interact with each other. Bottom line, your attic needs proper airflow. Hot, wet air needs to be able to escape. When that can't happen, heat and moisture get stuck in your attic. And when they get stuck in your attic, they destroy things. We're talking about your wood decking, your insulation, and your shingles. Because when an attic gets too hot, it literally bakes the shingles from underneath and it wears them out way too fast. But here's the part most people never think about. It's not just your roof that suffers. A hot, stuffy attic makes your air conditioner work a lot harder than it should as well. Your AC has to run longer. So then it uses more energy and then it wears out faster. And here in Central Texas, where most AC units actually live in the attic, this can be an expensive mistake. And last but not least, it can lead to some pretty nasty things like mold. I don't know about you, but the last thing I want to worry about is my family breathing moldy air because my contractor didn't understand proper ventilation. So when ventilation's done right, you're not only protecting your roof, you're protecting your AC, lowering your power bill, and making your home healthier. When it's done wrong or just ignored, it can cut your roof's life in half. It can make your AC unit die an early death, and it can actually completely void your warranty. And the really frustrating part, you can't see it from outside. A contractor can put a brand new roof on a home with a terrible ventilation issue, and it'll look great for a while until things start failing way too early, and then nobody wants to take responsibility. So when you talk to a contractor, ask them to show you their ventilation plan. Ask them how they figured out how much airflow your attic needs, and make sure they aren't mixing ventilation types. Ask them what the balance of intake and exhaust is, and if they don't have a good answer, it tells you a lot. The next part we need to discuss is leak barrier. Think of this as a waterproof shield that gets glued directly to the roof deck. It's your last line of defense, that final thing standing between water and the inside of your home. Most reputable contractors in our area have switched from installing valley metal to using leak barrier in the valleys. And that's actually encouraging to see. Unfortunately, a lot of contractors still just do the bare minimum and then move on. We not only install leak barrier in the valleys, but we also put it along every place where your roof meets a wall. And here's something that we do that hardly anyone else does, but we also put it around every single pipe, vent, and skylight on the roof, because those are the spots most likely to leak. They always have been. I should also take a moment to address something that you may want to consider. Leak barrier is pretty much your only protection against ice dams. And they don't happen often in Central Texas, but they do happen. And when they do, homes without leak barrier along the edges of the roof end up with water pouring inside. Now, code doesn't require leak barrier along the eaves in our area, but we always give homeowners the option, because that one time it does happen, you'll be really glad it's there. Up next, we have underlayment. This is a protective layer that goes over the entire roof deck, right underneath the shingles. It helps to keep moisture out, it protects the wood during the job, but most importantly, it gives you one more layer of defense if the shingles above it ever get damaged. Quality varies a lot here. An old school felt paper has been around forever, and it technically does the job, but it's the bare minimum. Modern synthetic underlayments are a lot tougher. They last longer, and they hold up much better when things get extreme. But this is one of the most common swap outs in a cheap bid. A contractor simply replaces higher quality underlayment with a lesser product. It saves them a little bit of money, and you never know the difference because it's buried under your shingles. And that leads me to starter shingles. You see, most homeowners have never even heard of these, but starter shingles are a special product that get installed along the edges of your roof before the regular shingles go on. Their whole job is to seal those edges down tight, because the edges are where wind gets underneath and causes the most damage. Some shady contractors will just skip this part entirely. Most contractors at least use a starter along the bottom edge of the roof, but here's where the next shortcut happens. It's the side edges, called the rakes. They often get skipped. It saves a few dollars and, well, most homeowners have no idea to ask about it. We actually use dedicated starter shingles along every edge, bottom and sides, every single time, no exceptions. Okay, now let's talk about flashing. Flashing is that thin metal that gets installed anywhere your roof meets something vertical. Think a wall, a chimney, or a skylight. Its only job is to keep water from sneaking in. But doing it right takes real skill. It takes the right materials, and sometimes they even have to be custom made on the spot for some of those trickier areas. Now, a lot of contractors don't always have the proper materials, they don't have the training, and honestly, they just don't want to deal with it. So they end up reusing whatever flashing is already there. But here's why that's a problem. You see, code actually says that flashing that is showing signs of rust or damage has to be replaced. But if nobody's checking, that rule doesn't mean much. So a lot of times you can end up with a brand new roof sitting on top of 20 or 30-year-old flashing. And when that old flashing eventually fails, and it will, water gets in, and your new roof is going to take the blame. So ask any contractor you're considering, how do you handle flashing? Ask them about kickouts and crickets and step flashing, and then watch to see if they give you a real answer or a vague one. The next thing you need to know about are roof penetrations. You see, every plumbing pipe, exhaust vent, and skylight sticking through your roof is basically a hole. And every hole is a place where water can get in if it's not sealed correctly. Here's a simple question to ask any roofing contractor. What kind of pipe boots do you use and how long do they last? Watch out for vague answers like standard or universal, because most contractors use these boots that are made of plastic and neoprene. They're often referred to as 3-in-1s. And these universal builder grade boots are cheap, they're quick to install, and they're what most companies order without thinking twice. The problem is, they don't last. The sun wears out those little neoprene sleeves pretty fast, and the plastic gets brittle and can crack. And sometimes, in as little as 5 to 7 years, they start leaking. Now, as long as you know what you're getting, then trying to save a little bit of money here and there is fine, but it's important to me that you know the difference and that you aren't being taken advantage of, because if you're putting a roof on your home, one that's supposed to last 30, 40, or 50 years, I want to encourage you to not choose a part of the roof that you already know is going to fail in 7. Because there are metal and composite options that'll outlast the entire roof. They don't cost that much more, but they make a huge difference. So ask about them. A contractor who's thought this through will have an answer ready, and one who hasn't, well, now you know what that means. Now that we've covered most of the components, we only have a couple more to discuss. But stick around to the end, because you're going to be shocked when you hear about the last component that can make or break your entire system. But first, let's talk field shingles. This is what everyone notices, and quality here absolutely matters. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't. Better shingles hold up better in wind, they resist hail better, they stay looking good longer, they come with better warranties, and these are all real differences worth paying attention to. And that's why I've dedicated the entire next video to walking you through all of those options. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's that the best shingle money can buy, put on top of a poorly ventilated attic, cheap underlayment, or installed with a cheap pipe boot, will lose to a lower grade shingle that was installed the right way as part of a complete, well-built system. Okay, last but certainly not least are the hip and ridge shingles. The very top of your roof, the peak where both sides meet, gets hit harder than anywhere else. More sun, more wind, more everything. So it needs to be protected with something built for that job. And yet, this is one of the most common places contractors cut corners. A lot of them cap the ridge with cut pieces of 3-tab shingles. 3-tab, you know, the most basic, most economy grade shingle you can buy. And it's being used to cover up the most beaten up part of the whole roof. Think about that. You've invested in a roof meant to last for decades. And the peak, the part that takes the worst of every storm, every heat wave, every hail event, is being covered with the cheapest product on the market. Well, let me tell you, that 3-tab ridge will wear out, and it will wear out long before the rest of your roof does. Now, purpose-built hip and ridge shingles are thicker, tougher, and they're made specifically for that spot. There just really is no good reason to go cheap here. You should know that most contractors never talk to their clients about any of this. They will talk about price and shingles because that's what most homeowners ask about. And it's a conversation most contractors are comfortable having. But that's why I've made these videos. I want you to be a smart buyer. I'm tired of hearing the horror stories. I'm tired of contractors getting away with substandard work and homeowners being left to deal with it. So to quickly recap, you now know that every roof has 9 distinct parts, and that each one is a choice between doing it right or doing it cheap. You know that a roof can look perfect from the street and be quietly falling apart underneath. You know that bad ventilation is an invisible problem affecting 9 out of 10 homes. That it damages your roof, wears out your AC, drives up your power bill, and affects the air quality in your home. You know that contractors often reuse old flashing. They install pipe boots that they know are going to fail in 7 years, and then they cap your ridge with the cheapest shingle they can find. And you also know that cutting corners on any one of those parts can cost you your warranty and your peace of mind. Here's something important to note about how we do things at Rome. Everything we just talked about, the ventilation, the flashing, the leak barrier, the quality components, I want you to know that's our standard, and it doesn't change based on your budget. Every home we touch gets built to our high standards. That being said, what does change between our packages is the shingle. And that's actually where it gets interesting, because when it comes to shingles, there is a wide range of performance, protection, and durability available to you. In this next video, I'm going to walk you through all 5 of our packages, what makes each one a little bit different, and how to figure out which one actually makes sense for your home, your situation, and your goals. It's probably the most useful video in the whole series, so make sure you watch it so that you can be prepared to make the right decision for your home.